my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption.
Woke deep state threatened by Trump's new intel chief. Donald Trump's hatred for the woke deep state is profoundly visible through his words and actions. One of the prime examples of this is his choice of Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. His win in the 2024 election will not go well for the woke deep state. Stick with us as we explore how the opponent of Tulsi Gabbard is the worst nightmare for woke Washington insiders. Donald Trump's intentions as president are clear this time. He is not here only to reclaim the White House, but also to transform how Washington operates. For one, the appointment of Tulsi Gabbard as his new Director of National Intelligence is a direct threat to the deep state's way of doing business. It signals that the new 4 years could bring a dramatic change to America's role in the world. This was the ultimate plan hinted at by Trump when he declared the deep state as a threat to democracy.
Today's Democrat Party is held hostage by haters, absolute haters, left-wing haters.
When he announced Tulsi Gabbard as his Director of National Intelligence just a week after winning the 2024 election, everyone was in disbelief. This decision left the entrenched intelligence community and their media allies in shock. But what's so unsettling about Tulsi Gabbard? The answer lies in her past and her motives.
Angry mobs, deep state radicals, and their fake news allies. Those people are the best. They're the best allies ever.
Tulsi Gabbard's journey from a rising Democratic star to an unspoken critic of her former party is a key part of her story. In October 2022, she officially left the Democratic Party, declaring that it was being controlled by an elite cabal of warmongers.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism.
Tulsi had long criticized the Democrat support for interventionist wars, regime change, and the military-industrial complex. She never hesitated to express her disdain for the rising authoritarian streak within the party, where dissent was increasingly silenced under the guise of fighting misinformation. She was also frustrated with the party's obsession with identity politics rather than issues that mattered, like economic reform or foreign policy.
Who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and above all, who are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war.
On her way out, Tulsi highlighted the Democratic establishment's abandonment of the working class and embrace of policies that serve corporate elites and special interests. This was not a quiet checkout. It was a rejection of everything the party had become.
Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite.
Just weeks before the 2024 election, Tulsi Gabbard made another bold move. She officially joined the Republican Party. Not without reason, of course. While some might ascribe it to opportunism, in reality, Tulsi's views and principles align much more closely to Donald Trump's motives, making the GOP a better fit for her and her ideas. She declared that Trump knew what it takes to be a president.
So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives.
Trump's foreign policy philosophy focuses on protecting U.S. interests rather than playing global policeman. Gabbard's views fit seamlessly into the framework, making the GOP's a natural fit for her. Gabbard's opposition to foreign wars and regime change dovetailed with Trump's America First foreign policy. Both have been staunch critics of the military-industrial complex, making Tulsi an ideal partner for implementing policies that oppose it.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
In her own words, Tulsi explained, "I'm not here to toe the party line. I'm here to serve the American people." This independence, combined with her new GOP affiliation, makes her an ally to Trump and a nightmare for Washington insiders.
I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people above all else.
I want to briefly give Senator
Tulsi Gabbard's appointment as Intel Chief is a grave warning to the entrenched bureaucracies of the intelligence community. Gabbard has been one of the most vocal opponents of America's endless wars. She stays consistently resistant to interventionist policies, a stand that threatens the power and influence of the military-industrial complex. For her, regime change wars are nothing but a betrayal of the American people. Tulsi Gabbard's narratives state that the wars are not only immoral but also harmful to U.S. interest. She has criticized covert operations and proxy wars, which she believes serve corporate interests rather than the American people.
Of regime change wars, overthrowing dictators in other countries, needlessly sending my brothers and sisters in uniform into harm's way to fight in wars that actually undermine our national security and have cost us thousands of American lives. These are wars that have cost us as American taxpayers trillions of dollars since 9/11 alone, dollars that have come out of our pockets, out of our hospitals, out of our schools, out of our infrastructure needs.
Now, as DNI, Gabbard would oversee agencies like CIA, NSA, and FBI. Institutions she openly criticized. Moreover, she's known for questioning intelligence reports used to justify U.S. military actions, particularly in Syria, where she doubted claims of chemical weapon attacks without evidence. She has expressed her views against wars in Syria, Iraq, and other foreign conflicts. As Intel Chief, Tulsi's ambition to challenge these narratives makes her sort of a wild card in the intelligence community, threatening the woke deep state.
Make no mistake, House Concurrent Resolution 121 is a war bill. It's a thinly veiled attempt to use the rationale of humanitarianism as a justification for overthrowing the Syrian government of Assad.
One of the biggest fears among career bureaucrats is Gabbard's potential to dismantle entrenched power structures. As Director of National Intelligence, she would have significant authority to declassify information that has been kept hidden from the public.
Similar resolutions were used in the past to legitimize the regime change wars to overthrow the governments of Iraq and Libya. I will have no part of it. I voted no on House Concurrent Resolution 121. I voted no against more unnecessary interventionist regime change wars.
Tulsi will be able to overhaul intelligence practices that have gone unchecked for decades. Another danger sign to the woke deep state is Tulsi's newfound ability to structurally challenge the status quo. Her principles include transparency and accountability, two things the woke deep state is obviously not comfortable with. Her new position as the DNI could expose decades of corruption, mismanagement, and politically motivated actions within the intelligence community. A bad sign for entrenched Washington insiders. Tulsi Gabbard has already spoken against deep state overreach, and now she can control their powers, keeping a close eye on them. Her views on intelligence do not favor deep state bureaucrats. She has repeatedly warned about the dangers of unchecked powers within the intelligence agency. In one of her tweets on March 13, 2022, she spoke harshly against U.S. and Ukrainian interactions, saying that there were more than 25 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. Her objective was to highlight how U.S. interactions and involvement in wars were dangerous and that intelligence agencies had been hiding things. In a video shared on her social media accounts, Gabbard stated that these labs were conducting dangerous research on pathogens that could become a threat if the pathogens were accidentally or intentionally released during the war. She emphasized the need for an immediate ceasefire to prevent what she called a potential catastrophic spillover from these labs.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. Now, like COVID, these pathogens know no borders. If they are inadvertently or purposely breached or compromised, they will quickly spread all throughout Europe, the United States, and the rest of the world, causing untold suffering and death. So in order to protect the American people, the people of Europe, the people around the world, these labs need to be shut down immediately, and the pathogens that they hold need to be destroyed. Instead of trying to cover this up, the Biden-Harris administration needs to work with Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the UN to immediately implement a ceasefire for all military action in the vicinity of these labs until they're secured and these pathogens are destroyed. Now, in addition to all this, the U.S. funds around 300 biolabs around the world who are engaging in dangerous research, including gain of function, similar to the lab in Wuhan, where COVID-19 may have originated from. Now, after realizing how dangerous and vulnerable these labs are, they should have all been shut down 2 years ago, but they haven't. Now, this is not a partisan political issue. The administration and Congress need to act now for the health and well-being of every American and every person on this planet.
Her remarks drew swift backlash from mainstream media outlets and political opponents who accused her of misinformation and treachery. Some stated that Tulsi Gabbard was horrible. Others compared her to the Kremlin and implied she was a cult member. However, Tulsi doubled down, citing statements made by Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland during a Senate hearing where Nuland acknowledged the existence of biological research facilities in Ukraine and expressed concerns about their security amid the conflict. She stated State Department's Victoria Nuland acknowledged such labs containing dangerous pathogens exist in Ukraine in her testimony to the U.S. Senate on March 8, 2022. Ukraine has biological research facilities which, in fact, we are quite concerned that Russian troops may be seeking to gain control of. We are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach. Her statement fueled debate over U.S. foreign policy and biosearch programs, highlighting her ongoing willingness to challenge establishment narratives. Gabbard's history of challenging secrecy suggests she could push for declassifying documents and provide the American public with more insight into the actions of intelligence agencies. With Gabbard at the helm, intelligence efforts will be more likely to prioritize genuine national security concerns over politically driven agendas. She's out to curb the abuses of power.
They're saying that they want to protect us people from being exposed to misinformation, which really reveals how they actually feel about us, how little they respect the American people. That what they're saying is, you know what? You're too stupid to think for yourself, to discern for yourself, to make your own decisions, so big government knows better for you than you do for yourself.
The deep state thrives on maintaining its power in the shadows, but with Gabbard's history of calling out corruption and challenging war propaganda, they're facing a leader who won't play by the rules. Her alignment with Trump's America First approach could also mean a significant scaling back of intelligence agency missions abroad, further limiting their influence. Keep in mind that Gabbard doesn't necessarily do what the party requires. She does what she thinks is best. Her motives lead us to expect great changes for the future. Tulsi Gabbard's rise to Director of National Intelligence is a total game changer. Her bold stances, independence, and refusal to adhere to the establishment's playbook make her a uniquely disruptive figure in U.S. government. Whether the entrenched establishment can survive this disruption remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, the battle has just begun. The latest critic of woke culture might surprise you. In one of our latest videos, we explore how ChatGPT accidentally exposes the danger of extreme far-left ideologies. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more.